Good morning. I'm Marian Newsom,
I'm Gina Rosenthal.
and we are the Tech Aunties.
Yay.
So we're kicking off again today from the Capitol Factory at South by Southwest. If you missed out on any of the great stuff we talked about yesterday, we had a great guest in Katharine Manning. We talked about empathy in the workplace.
Yeah, it was really good. We had such a good audience for that as well. People had a lot of questions to ask. I don't know if she believed us that IT tech workers we have a lot of trauma that we bring to the workplace from our personal lives, but that happens to us in the workplace, and that needs to be nurtured and attended to for good productivity.
Right. So if you missed out yesterday, go to the techaunties.com to watch that episode and really catch the 4 C's that she actually shared with us, and it'll help you. If you have any other comments or questions about empathy in the workplace, especially in the tech environment now, please leave your comments and we'll get back to you.
Yeah, and I think right now that's actually on YouTube. So the Tech Aunties YouTube channel, and we'll make sure you're on right now if you're watching the live stream. So you can find, we'll have more information on techaunties.com once that one is produced.
Okay.
You're right. I had decaffeinated. That's all I'm drinking. And today it feels like I should have some caffeinated, maybe. This is Saturday and we're up working. Usually I'm out walking with the dogs and chilling out. And today our brains are
like in a fog from all the hype around AI and everything that's going on here at the Capitol Factory.
That's right. And at South by. That's a lot about AI at South by this week too. So
most definitely.
That's all anybody's talking about.
It is. So what are we going to talk about today?
Today we are talking about unintended consequences of AI. So very important topic. You think about it, right? AI depends on lots and lots of data. And the one that's the part of AI that's getting the most attention is generative AI, which I'm not sure all the time is technically AI, but that's a whole other discussion for a whole nother day. If you want to get into it, let us know. Maybe we'll do a whole nother thing on that. But for AI to work, it takes lots and lots and lots and lots of data.
Right.
It then has to be scrubbed and cleaned. It has to be put in a certain format, has to be tagged. Usually all that stuff is still happening by humans, for humans. And then there's algorithms written to take all of that data to produce information to make decisions on or to do things with.
Most definitely.
It's awesome because if you think about, we've only had the internet even if we say like from 2000, it's probably from 96, right?
Right.
So it's 30 years, 30-ish. Am I right there?
I mean, Al Gore invented the internet, right?
Well, yeah, he sure did. So,
but you're right. And so even as we evolve, people have been submitting their data. So we get into issues of consent. We get into issues of, is it really ethics or privacy by design? And then even how do we protect that data in cybersecurity?
And I think there's more to it than that, which I think we want to get into, right? Because those are pretty straightforward. Like we had the Actors Guild strike was all about consent to use my personal data, to use my image of me, which is how I make my work, how I make my living by acting, or from designing and drawing. And just the idea of privacy, if you've got this enormous data set of, let's say, medical records, seems like a nice little honeypot for somebody to go get their hands on, right? So, what about the unintended consequences? And that's what we're talking about today with our guest, Swati Popuri. And I hope I'm saying her name right. So we'll make sure we get that right when we see Swati today. But she's a privacy expert.
Most definitely.
But this is more on the ethical side. So I talk a lot about the paper that everybody refers to as a stochastic parrots paper that explained large LLMs and how they work today and the ethical problems with them that range from, like we talked a little bit about yesterday, that range from the environmental concerns about actually producing that data and running and training these algorithms on these data sets. It's enormous. So you have to have so many GPUs to make it happen right now, or very, very fast chipsets, which is what Intel has just come out and started promoting. It's amazing that it can happen, that we can make data out of all the information that we can't get to easily as humans, but we can do it now. But what happens for some of those data? I think the biggest example that sets out to me is redlining. And a lot of that is because I live in what was formerly Red Line District. I know my friend in New Orleans does as well. And we, of course, both are white.
Right.
We would not have been affected by those laws back in the day. It's interesting how we're affected by those laws because of using this old data now. So like in my case, a lot of times I get advertisements either on digital TV or in my mailbox that are in Spanish, because it's just that I should be speaking Spanish because of where my neighborhood is. And hers in New Orleans is she gets a lot of really interesting things that have nothing to do with her, are really her neighbors who are Black too. It's just how they're marketed to based on these old zip code kind of interesting things. But if you think about some of the things we heard, even yesterday, we had some great people in-house that are making a new law app. What happens if they just, they're very diligent about what they're doing. They seem pretty good, right? They're very interested in making sure everything is fair, which is great. What happens if they didn't really care and they're just trying to go fast to market with their, with their product and using AI to enhance it? And they take this old red line data. Would it possibly, because of the way that things were written and the laws were written and the assumptions of the people living in those neighborhoods, is it possible that they could reinforce stereotypes that would be pretty unfair to people of color, especially?
Most definitely. And so you bring up a really interesting point about the old data, even the moves in society around gentrification.
Right.
And so really those social impacts of the unintended consequences of AI and how we market to people, how we actually, the redlining, how we go about even composing neighborhoods now. If I'm redlined, and what that really means is I cannot get a loan based on historical data, based on data about race, income, credit ratings. And so if I'm unable to
get a home loan, or insurance, or very high insurance,
and then the bank has current data about the gentrifications of this area, that has some really social impact.
It does. And we're seeing that in Austin. We're seeing and that's not anything that some of the privacy things we were just talking about in our traditional infrastructure type ways of security would answer, right? So that's nothing to do with securing the data sets.
So that's nothing to do. That's the point, right?
Right.
Security is security for security's sake. It really doesn't think about those societal concerns.
And if you think about now, and that's where I was going, I think, with saying how old the internet is, that's when data started to really get digitized. I came up through my background is storage, is big storage companies. I started at EMC. And so that's back in early 2000s. So that's when data storage was important. We started digitizing everything and putting everything on digital storage instead of in big warehouses with the paper. So now we've got all of this stuff digitally pulled together. We need the algorithms and the techniques that AI is bringing us to sort through these things, to make information, to make knowledgeable decisions on things. What we don't want to happen is to go back 50 years because that data is historical and nobody has looked at it with a critical eye to say, wait a minute, that's way back in the 60s or even the 20s, because a lot of those laws are from the 20s, from Jim Crow time. So we want to go back to that. We made a little bit of progress. Let's use this amazing tool to make sure we accelerate that progress, not the absolute opposite way of happening, which is what I'm afraid of happening.
Most definitely. And so you're fresh off of the AI Tech Day with Tech Field Day. So what are you hearing there, and also with your clients at Digital Sunshine Solutions?
Well, AI Tech Field Day was a great time. If you don't know about Tech Field Day, it's techfieldday.com. Brings independent analysts like myself together to actually hear from tech companies on a particular topic. This time it was AI. We had great interactions with Intel and VMware and Vast Data, just like great kind of pre-briefings from them.
Okay.
So it's all infrastructure, right? So, but what is interesting is the question always comes up, and I'm probably the one that asked it. Well, what about the unintended consequences? What are you doing to put things in place? Because you need an ethics team. It was very interesting because the Google team was there.
Oh, really?
And they had the nerve to bring up. See, now I'm gonna be in here. I got to take a sip of water.
Go ahead and spill the tea. I hope it's hot.
I think it's hot, especially because we've got some of the folks here, at South by talking about this. But they had the nerve to bring up how they are caring about people's data and their privacy and everything else. And of course, I said, well, did you reinstate your ethics team? Because the paper I was talking about before was written by the Google ethics team, and they got fired for it because Google did not want them talking about dangers of AI because they want to sell this product. Mm-hmm. So it was very interesting to me, and he got very defensive, and I ain't gonna lie, I was happy with myself. I think as technologists, that's one thing we have to keep bringing up, right? We have to keep bringing up, like, if you're looking at the infrastructure piece of it, people aren't going to be able to impact how people write algorithms and what they do with the data that they're mining and running algorithms against. But what they are going to be able to do is have an ethics team to make sure what they're building is not contributing to the problem. The one thing all of the companies from an infrastructure perspective on AI is looking at, which is actually good, and all of them had an answer for this, was the environmental impact, because that seems to concern everybody quite a bit, because there's only so much power to go around. There's only so much water to go around. Water is very important. The storing, well, it's not so much the storing, it's the compute, the being able to run algorithms and compute. It takes a massive amount of cooling for the data centers, which is usually done with water. So it's using a lot of water, a lot of electricity, and it's very bad for the environment. I can't remember the CO2, like I have a chart that shows like an airplane's this much. I can't remember the numbers. So, but GPT-4 to train that was this much, right? Which is why you're hearing a lot of people talking about private GPTs that are smaller. They're not you're not training these large language models, but now you're taking it, and IBM talked about this. Intel talked about this, and VMware talked about this. They're taking these smaller sets that are particularly their data that they want to train on, and they train that. And maybe get pieces of the GPT or whatever algorithm that makes sense to them that's already been trained, and then they use that as a starting base, and they train a smaller amount based on their own business initiatives and their own data, which saves a lot of money. So that was good, and I was really kind of impressed with VMware. I have to say, I've been disappointed in VMware being acquired by Broadcom things, but their private AI is very interesting and worth a look at, I would say. And I'm going to write about Intel. Unfortunately, this came all with planning, so I'm kind of behind on my writing a little bit. Intel has new chips that are able to especially they're not made to do the same things that the GPUs can do with these large language models, but these small private data language models they can work with. And what's more, if you're buying a new server this year, it is most likely that it has that chip in there, which means that you have open source AI capabilities with the servers you already bought. Right. So that's what I'm going to write about. So you've already got it probably, or it's coming to your data center if you're doing a server refresh, and you should check it out and see if you need a large language model. If you need to bring it in house, and can you do something smaller, and do you already have the chips that you can do that with? And you probably do.
But if I'm a company new coming into looking at AI tools, how can I implement those large language models? We use a lot of algorithms and things that I'm just interested in opening a business, getting started, getting up and running and using AI for productivity and predicting and other models. And I came to you at Digital Sunshine Solutions. How would you integrate that information into a solution for me?
So what we do at Digital Sunshine is product marketing. So we might not integrate it into a solution for you, like going out to sell or something. We could help you evaluate what language models, what tools would make sense to you from a product marketing perspective, we use Jasper AI. I think I've mentioned that this week already. I love Jasper because they are here in Austin, and they've trained their stuff specifically on marketing content, what people would want to have. So I think there's probably just a little bit of consulting and advice giving that would come first. And the biggest advice is you cannot replace your marketers with a generative AI. You can, if you want to, go ahead. 6 months, call us up. We'll help you out, because what you're gonna get is what's there already. So whatever language model you're using, which was all trained on the internet. So it may be good for your business, but maybe not. I think what we would probably look at is, what are your objectives from a product marketing standpoint, and how can you use some of these tools to go faster, which you absolutely can. But what it should be doing is enhancing your teams, your product marketing teams and your marketing teams' creativity, and your team's understanding of your messaging and your company's mission. So how do you get that kick-started maybe in different ways with the GPT, and then are one of these SaaS models that there's tons of now to choose from.
Right.
How do you kick that off? How do you integrate that into, maybe start small, probably. I think there's so many small ways to start that people hate doing, which is maybe emails, your drip emails. Could you look at your drip emails and get some suggestions from a GPT? Very important to look at them again. Make sure you do the sniff test. Our partner, I can't think of Michael's last name. Our partner, Michael, from Something Killer, that's his company. He'll say, "Did you run this through Jasper? Because it smells like AI." And I'm like, "Yeah, it kind of does. I was being lazy." Go back in and make it my own. So that's a very common trap to fall in, especially because marketers and product marketers have so much to do. That's why we exist, to get some of that off your plate, to help you out. But you want to make sure it doesn't smell like AI, but it smells like your company. It smells good like these flowers, and not stinky like AI. Because AI is just, if you've ever gotten an email from someone that's using it, nobody says hints in real language, and you should not put that in an email. I don't think I even put hints in my papers that I write. Don't do that. If you got AI and you see hints, get it out of there. Rewrite that sentence. But there's lots of ways it can help. If you've got that creative spark for what has to get across, I use it. This is why mine sometimes ends up smelling like AI. I use it because I am like a little professor when I'm writing. I'm like, I'm going to give you all the facts. I'm going to explain it. It's going to be great. And for, I think, digital marketing and kind of some of the other stuff, it's in between like my little professor writing and social media. Hey, what's up? I'm not really great with, and I work with tons of marketers that are, but I can run it through Jasper and get an idea. Oh yeah, that sounds like Polly would write it. I'm going to do that. It sounds cool. And then I go too far because I get a little lazy. But I've learned these lessons that I can share with people. I think we're going to be at a point. We've made fun of Sam Altman, and I don't think we should stop doing that today. But I'm just saying, 95% of us are not going to lose our jobs. I think if you get really freaked out and scared about it, you won't keep up with things. There's too much going on from a technical perspective to think that someone's not going to need to be around to explain it. And a GPT cannot explain what's going on. It can give you the dry, bare bones. It can give you something that's going to say hints a lot that nobody's going to read and like. You're going to need your creativity. You're going to need your company's messaging. You're going to need that creative spark because you know your audience and you know what you're trying to get across. You're going to need that, but you might need some help organizing the ideas. So I think, yes. So to wrap up,
you can help us with that.
I can help. Yeah, Digital Sunshine can definitely help. And in fact, if you're looking for some help and just for some talking through what's possible, you can go to Digital Sunshine's solutions with an s.com and book a free consultation with us, and we'll see what you've got going on and see how we can help you. Nice to meet some of y'all too.
Yeah, and if you're struggling with your data and privacy and how you could ethically use that data and any bias or transparency in those language models, reach out to me. We'll put our contact information up on the page and also the link to the paper we keep referring to.
Yes,
we need to put that up. Killer what was the killer guy's name? The
Michael Pope. I just remembered Michael Pope. Sorry, Michael.
And and links to his
business as well. Yeah, he's a great digital marketer. I'm really lucky to be partnered with him.
Okay. And so I think we're going to be recording here shortly at.
Yep, we're going to at 11. We're going to kick off with 11 with Swati, and that should be very good because she's been all over the place talking about the unintended consequences of AI, which are so important. I think the more of us that are educated about this, especially, it has to start with the tech community being educated about this, so we can push back and we can ask and we can confirm if what our companies are doing is the best thing and the right thing, instead of just blindly. I think the blindly makes us all really anxious for the future. I'm super excited about the future of tech.
Yeah, but there's already some use cases out there about unintended consequences of AI in the social justice arena, even in how AI recognizes faces of people of color, bias against gender, bias against women,
poor people, people that are in the system, especially people that are in any kind of assistance programs. I think one of the big case studies that has been written up is about social services for the kids.
Right.
And getting your kids taken away is based on a point system, and they've put that all into an algorithm. So if you were in foster care, your kid, you've already got points against you. And the more points you get against you, the more hassle you get from social services when you actually need support and help and care, which we talked about on the ride up here this morning. So super easy to try to save money with AI, but we need people helping people, and we need to realize that the people that are going to be impacted the most by the unintended consequences are the people with the least. And we need everybody to come along into this next era. We can't just be a few of us,
Right. We need to work together and build communities of influence and actually communities of action to actually address those consequences, those unintended consequences. And so if you have a topic you'd like for us to talk about, or you'd like to be a guest on the podcast to talk about some of these unintended consequences of AI, we'd love to hear how you've been impacted by the implementation of AI across all of society. I joke about it, but there's things out there like when you go to buy pizza and I say it's AI pizza, but there are unintended consequences. And so we'd love to hear your comments. We'd love to have guests on our podcast who can really talk about those things.
I think tomorrow we need to talk about the unintended consequences of AI pizza, because I need to know where this is going.
It's really, it's just too personal, right?
Okay.
So even in person, we have these discussions about pineapple on pizza. I don't want to be discriminated against, because don't just show me non-pineapple options. I want to see other things, And so we'd love to hear your thoughts, how you've been impacted by AI and those unintended consequences.
Yeah, please let us know. You can either let us know in the comments here, or go on over to find us on LinkedIn or find us on Instagram. We've revived that page, at least for this weekend. And we probably are going to start chatting on Twitter on the Digital Sunshine channel as well, if you're interested. But I think we have spilled all the tea there is to spill this morning. But we will spill some more at 11. If you are in the Capitol Factory House, please come down to Johnny 5 or around maybe like 10 till 11. We've got, of course, Auntie treats for you again. And come on down and be in the audience and hear what we have to say about unintended consequences.
And we also want to hear what you have to say. So we'd love to get your opinion. Is AI a ray of sunshine, or is it just hype?
I like it.
So come on down.
Thanks, y'all.